Hey guys, what's up? This is Diego here at Cinemageddon Reviews. So this past weekend, I saw the long-awaited James Cameron movie, Avatar: The Way of Water. This was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, as well as for a lot of other people, so let's talk about it. Now, before we begin, this review is not going to contain spoilers, so everybody in the comments, please be sure to keep it that way. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, here we go. So James Cameron finally takes us back to the forest moon of Pandora, where we rejoin Jake Sully and the Na'vi as they embark on another adventure. This time, Jake, Neytiri, and their family are on the run from the returning human army and seek safety among a tribe of ocean dwellers. So like a lot of people, I have been looking forward to The Way of Water for a long time. I thought that the original film was actually pretty enjoyable, despite a couple problems here and there with the story and the characters. So going into this movie, I was cautiously optimistic. I was hoping that this next movie would address and hopefully even improve the problems of the first film, as well as expand the franchise in a meaningful way. And I'm happy to say it most certainly did. Avatar: The Way of Water is a fantastic sequel that improves on the flaws of the first film and delivers a more captivating story on top of building on an already fascinating world. As you all know, Avatar is known for its groundbreaking CGI and world design. One of the things people were most excited to see was how the sequel built on that. And as you can expect, James Cameron exceeds all expectations. The design of the ocean-dwelling Na'vi, as well as the sea creatures and the environments, it sucks you in pretty much immediately. Exploring this new biome was fascinating. And the CGI and the visuals in the film, the imagery in the underwater scenes, it was all so beautiful. It easily tops the imagery in the first film. Now, I saw this movie in RealD 3D, and it looks even more stunning that way. It absolutely enhances the viewing experience. There were some scenes where the CGI in the 3D was so good that it actually scared me. There was this one scene where Jake is fighting someone who comes in from off camera like this, and from where I was sitting, it looked like that person rose up from the seats in front of me. Then there was this one shot where someone is like waking up after being unconscious, and there's this like light shining in their eyes. It was really jarring and like dizzying, but that was also kind of the point, so in that sense it actually worked. I had a pretty good viewing experience. Another thing this movie improved on was the acting. In my review of the original film, I mentioned that Sam Worthington was just okay as the protagonist, not as good as he could have been. But I mentioned that since Avatar, his skills have improved, and I predicted that he would be better in this upcoming film. And I was right. Not only did Sam Worthington turn in a much better performance this time, I also felt like in this movie his character was much more complex. He's not just a military man this time who changes his ways, he's now a father wrestling with his guilt and his responsibility to his family. It actually brought a lot of interesting tension to the story. Now this time, Zoe Saldana's character Neytiri doesn't play as big a role in the story, but her and Jake's kids do, and their role in this movie is actually pretty well handled. They bring some pretty unexpected but surprisingly fresh twists on the franchise, and they add a lot to the family dynamic in the story. The story also expands quite a bit on the human aspect of the story. The new tech the villains use and the things they've been up to since the events of the last film, they're both fascinating and also pretty terrifying to watch. It leads to some pretty horrific scenes in the second half of the film. The destruction of Home Tree was nothing compared to the stuff they get up to in this movie. It actually almost brought a tear to my eye quite a few times. So in addition to improving on what the first film had to offer, Avatar: The Way of Water also fixes a lot of stuff that carries over from the last film. Yeah, that's right, the sequel actually made the original film better. It adds more depth to the shallow characters, it fixes some of the problems with the villains, it adds new twists and complexity to some of the more cliche stuff from that last film. And I can't go into details because the trailers have actually been pretty vague on who the primary villain of the film is, but they managed to make a villain this time who was actually pretty compelling and has some pretty surprising parallels to Jake Sully's character arc, and who goes against the theme of the film. This is stuff that I would have never expected in a sequel to Avatar, but honestly, I'm really glad we got it. I feel like I can enjoy the first film that much more, and I mean that in the best way possible. So overall, Avatar: The Way of Water was a fantastic sequel. It was better than the original in almost every way. The CGI is better, the world building is better, the characters are better. The story was so good, it actually made the story in the original film better. The Way of Water might be my favorite film of the year, definitely in the top 3, but as far as James Cameron movies go, I think this is one of his best. It's definitely up there with Aliens for me. And with that said, my rating for Avatar: The Way of Water is 10 out of 10. So if anyone is skeptical about this movie after seeing the last one, you can rest assured that this one is well worth the watch. Please see it as soon as possible. And if you can, see it in 3D. I can assure you that James Cameron might have been bragging a little too much on social media and stuff lately, but he's not unwarranted this time. I think he did an awesome job. If you have seen The Way of Water, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. Did you like the film? And do you think it's an improvement over the last one? Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to like this video and subscribe, follow us on all our social medias, and please support our Patreon so you can get the chance to request a review of a movie or show you'd like to see us talk about next. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Diego for Cinemageddon Reviews, and I'll see you on the Wasteland.